Have you ever noticed people who move through life like the wind parts for them? Not because they tricked luck, but because their presence, quiet, steady, unbothered, bends circumstances toward them. They are not always louder, richer, or faster than you. Yet things seem to work out for them in ways that make you curious and a little stunned. What if that luck is not luck at all, but a state of being? What if there is a way to live from the inside out so that reality is, more and more, an echo of your inner climate? Today, I want to show you a practical, soul-level method, what I call an invincibility frequency. That sounds dramatic, and it is, in one sense, because it changes how you show up in the world. But it's also deeply simple. It asks you to prioritize your energy before you prioritize the situation, to treat your inner state as the primary instrument of creation, to become the person who is steady enough that the world rearranges itself as an effect of your peace. Let's begin with a map. We live in a field of possibilities, an infinite sea of potential forms and experiences. The version of reality you wake into each morning is like landing in a particular neighborhood of that field. Your beliefs, emotions, and the stories you carry act like a frequency. They tune you into a narrow slice of the infinite. If your frequency is tight with fear and evidence of lack, you will keep finding proof of lack. If your frequency is open, calm, and expectant, different possibilities will line up. Think about the last time something small went wrong and you spiraled. A late text, a sudden bill, an awkward meeting. Did you notice how quickly your attention, your posture, your breathing, and your stories about yourself changed? That shift is frequency at work. It's immediate. It rewires what you see next. The good news is that this is reversible. The frequency you emit can be chosen, intentionally and repeatedly, until it becomes your default station. That's the first key idea. Mind precedes matter, not in mystical abstraction, but as a daily, tactile rule of life. You might have heard this framed as manifestation or law of attraction, and maybe you've tried it with mixed results. The difference between a gimmick and a sustainable practice is fidelity to the inner work. Most people chase outcomes, the job, the promotion, the relationship, while neglecting the soil that would produce those things. The soil is your emotional climate and identity. Soil creates the plant. The plant does not create the soil. So what does this inner work look like? I'll give you a practical pathway with 3 foundational moves, and then a simple 7-day reset you can use right away. First move, decide who you are, not because of what happens, but because of what is true about you. We're socialized to derive identity from outcomes. If you get the role, you're important. If you lose it, you are not. But identity that leans on external proofs gets whipsawed by circumstance. Instead, practice anchoring identity in eternal qualities. Your capacity to love, to create, to notice, to choose. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. It's saying, before the world confirms me, I already confirm myself. That shift compresses time. You stop needing the world's permission to feel whole. Second move, prioritize your state like it's your job. This means you schedule small rituals midday as if they were meetings. Breathe, reset posture, check your inner weather. Ask, what am I believing right now? Where is my attention? Then switch it. Move toward feelings that match your desired reality. Not by faking, but by deliberately choosing practices that change physiology and thought. Gratitude that opens your chest. A 2-minute breath pattern that clears the mind. A soft smile that alters your nervous system. These micro shifts are your building blocks. They raise the baseline frequency. Third move, surrender the how, but act on intuition. You are not responsible for manufacturing every step of the universe. You are responsible for being receptive and clear. Don't confuse surrender with passivity. Surrender is a posture of confidence. You've done the inner calibration, and now you let the intelligence of the field fill in the choreography. The actions you take from this aligned state are different. They feel like invitations rather than frantic repairs. They are often simple and immediate. You will notice them: a thought that repeats, a nudge in your body, a small door that opens. When you feel that, move. Not because you forced it, but because your frequency is now compatible with that path. Let's talk about your opponent, the one who will try to pull you back into scarcity. That opponent is not the financial market, the weather, or other people. It is the programmed self, the ego that learned to protect you by reading the environment for threats. It developed useful habits: scan for danger, compare, hoard. But in modern life, that protective mechanism can become a prison. The ego equates safety with control. If I can control the outcome, I'll be secure. That feels sensible and sometimes works, but it's limited. To step into an invincibility frequency, you must become the player of the character, not the character who believes every plot twist is ultimate truth. How do you spot the ego voice? 2 clues. It is reactive, and it wants immediate proof. It will ask, "What if this fails?" Or, "But look at evidence X." It tightens your chest and speeds your breath. When you hear it, name it. Ah, there's the reactive voice. Naming creates distance. From that distance, you can decide what to believe. The ego's logic has its uses, but it should not be the governor of your state. Now, some practical exercises you can do today. 3 simple, repeatable actions that change frequency quickly. Exercise 1. The 3-minute reset. Stop. Breathe in for 4. Hold 2. Out for 6. Repeat 3 times. Place your hand over your heart, soften your jaw, and think of one small thing that's true and kind about you right now. Feel that. Name one thing you want in the next 24 hours, and imagine receiving it with gratitude, not desperation. Hold the feeling for 30 seconds. This short ritual realigns nervous system and attention. Do it before important calls or each morning. Exercise 2. The identity upgrade statement. One sentence that defines how you want to operate. Present tense, personal, brief. Example: I move from quiet confidence, not from proving my worth. Repeat it aloud twice daily. Let your actions test and confirm that statement. Exercise 3. The surrender journal. Every evening, write one small victory and one open-ended question you will leave unanswered. I set my energy today. What next unfolded? I trust the how. This trains you to stop micromanaging and to recognize intuition-driven opportunities. These practices begin to change what I call the resonance field around you. Over time, things that used to snag you simply slide by. That's not avoidance. It is selective alignment. You do not need every experience that exists in the field, only those that match your frequency. There's an important truth I want to clarify. Prioritizing inner state does not mean abandoning ambition or ignoring problems. Quite the opposite. It gives you a steadier base to address them. If your baseline is calm and clear, you can see better solutions and take smarter action. You're not reacting, you're solving. You see what needs to be fixed, as if from above, with less drama and more clarity. That is unbelievably practical. Let me interrupt the technique with a short, true anecdote. Years ago, a friend of mine was building a small business. Every month, there was a new crisis. He'd fix it in a frenzy. Then another would arrive. He was spectacularly busy, but exhausted. One day, he committed to 3 weekly practices: a morning breath, a 30-minute state walk, without anything to do but notice, and a nightly gratitude entry. Within 2 months, the crises didn't stop entirely, but his responses changed. He found smarter people to hire. He noticed patterns earlier, and his calendar stopped being a list of fires. People who'd resigned themselves to "that's how it is" started asking him how he did it. He called it simple, but the work lived inside him. That work changed the outcomes. I also want to root this in something that feels scientific, because many people get nervous about the word energy. Modern physics gives us a helpful metaphor in the idea that observation influences outcome. Quantum researchers noticed that the act of observing changes the behavior of particles. In human terms, your attention is not neutral. It shapes. So when you repeatedly observe possibilities through a scarcity lens, you influence what the system hands you. When you observe from an open, abundant lens, different possibilities become visible. Science and spirit are not enemies here. They point to the same practice. Choose what you tune toward. And now the critical warning. Do not mistake surrender for passivity, or ego critique for contempt. The ego is not the enemy to destroy. It is a tool to refine. When you increase awareness, you can use the ego as a subject, see its patterns, then intentionally reassign its energies. The secret is leadership. You lead your inner world. The ego is not the boss. So what does a week of focused practice look like? I suggest a 7-day frequency reset. Small, concentrated steps create a momentum that lasts. 7-day frequency reset practical plan. Day 1, anchor identity. Write your identity statement. Repeat it aloud. Wear it like a garment. Day 2, morning reset. Begin each morning with the 3-minute reset before checking your phone. Day 3, boundary sweep. Identify one external habit that spikes reactivity. Social feed, certain conversations. Limit it for the day. Notice the difference. Day 4, creative delight. Do one thing you enjoy without purpose for 20 minutes. Let joy raise vibration. Day 5, surrender practice. Set one intention and do not plan the steps. Only notice nudges and act when they feel aligned. Day 6, gratitude expansion. Before bed, write 3 things and expand each with sensory specifics, how it looked, smelled, what you felt. This deepens the feeling. Day 7, reflection and integration. Journal what shifted. Commit to 3 small daily practices you will keep. By day 7, you will notice subtle but real changes. Less reactivity, clearer intuition, different opportunities arriving. You are not forced to manifest a 6-figure windfall. You will simply be better placed to receive and move with what is appropriate. Now let's return to the big principle, so the practice has a moral compass. Everything you do internally influences the field. But you are not the author of the entire book. You are the poet of your chapter. When you take full responsibility for the interior life, you stop projecting chaos outward and waiting for the world to repair you. You become the person who attracts solutions because your frequency matches the intelligence of those solutions. At this point, you might object. This sounds too spiritual for me. Or, what about real-world responsibilities? That's a fair concern. The measure of a practice is whether it improves your life. If your bills are real, if your relationships are strained, these practices will not avoid that reality. They will make you a clearer agent in it. You'll negotiate better. Your mind will be steadier, your nervous system calmer. That is tangible and measurable in daily life. A final caution: impatience is the sneakiest sabotage. The ego promises immediate evidence. It will say, if nothing changed by Tuesday, this is nonsense. Do not hand your power back to that narrative. Frequency work compounds. Small daily acts produce large structural shifts. Think of it like planting a garden. Watering is boring. But a flourishing garden is the fruit of steady tending. And now the central revelation I want you to carry. You are not primarily the played character. You are the player. Once you accept that, your relationship to circumstance changes. You no longer accept the frame the world hands you as the only story. You design a larger story and live inside it. You act, you pause, you receive, you surrender. You become, in a quiet way, invincible, not because nothing hits you, but because nothing stays that does not belong. To close, I'll give you 3 simple lines to practice every morning. Take them as a mantra, a compass, a way to quickly tune into the invincibility frequency. I begin here, steady, open, and available. Breathe. I am the chooser of my state. Feel. I set intention, then allow the how to arrive. Release. Say them aloud. Say them to yourself when the day knocks you sideways. Use them as a returning place. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. Begin the work of prioritizing your energy. Learn to notice the ego voice without letting it veto your state. Take small, aligned actions when intuition surfaces. And above all, practice surrender with trust. The field of possibilities is vast. When you align your inner frequency with your intention, you invite that field to meet you. Reality will start, slowly, then unmistakably, to obey in ways that feel miraculous because they are so simple. They are simply the world matching the signal you now send. If this resonated, try the 7-day reset and let me know one small change you notice. Keep a log. It helps you trust the pattern. And remember, your primary job is not to fix the world. It's to hold yourself steady enough that the world offers itself as a resource. That is the practice of invincibility.